are listening to or watching the We Are West Ham podcast on a podcast or on YouTube, whichever one. Welcome. I'm Will Pugh, and I am joined to look ahead to Monday night's game at home against Wolves by talkSPORT's very own Will Lewis. Will, I haven't done a podcast since we got humped by Leicester on Monday night, 3-1 away from home. Leicester, terrible this season, new manager bounce, classic. And I thought, blimey, Wolves on Monday, another huge game. I'm going to talk to Will. We arranged this before you played Everton, and somehow you've outdone us on terrible result of the week.
That's I did think we'd get something against Everton, but I mean, it truly is. We've one up you, or one down you, I should say. And it is now, it's a bigger game for us than it is for you in some ways. And that says a lot, because it would have been a huge game for Lopetegui. But it's not looking good for us too so far, is it?
No, it's absolutely terrible. Now, we sort of started having this conversation off air, if you like. And you said it's the end of an era for one of us on Monday. Now, just before we're recording this podcast, there's reports suggesting that Lopetegui will be in charge on Monday, right? I believe the West Ham board have met today. I thought it was going to be tomorrow. We're recording this Friday, by the way, in case you're listening, wondering when we're talking about. Sorry, no, we're not. We're recording this on Thursday afternoon. So it's just come out moments before this recording that Lopetegui's staying in charge for Monday. Now, the fact that's even a story tells you how bad it is. You said it's the end of an era for one of us. I feel, looking from afar, that Gary O'Neill is a better manager than he gets credit for, and that he's also a bit unfashionable. Now, you've had first-hand experience. I also know some communication between West Ham and Gary O'Neill over the summer about him potentially replacing David Moyes. And I don't think at the time I would have hated that. You've watched both of our managers in the flesh. Lopetegui obviously was at Wolves, now Gary O'Neill. What do you make of my statement, a comparison between the two, and what's it been like for you this season?
Well, I get why from the outside people don't mind Gary O'Neill. He speaks well. He came in at a really tough time for Wolves. I think it was less than a week before the season after Lopetegui walked without much investment. But I mean, I think it's 3 wins and 24 going back to last season, and then this season we're just shipping goals. I mean, 4 goals away to Everton against a team who have looked so poor for the goal. Exactly, and like it was awful to watch. And we get back-to-back wins. Southampton, admittedly, the bottom of the league, but we won the game. We weren't brilliant, but we played all right. Fulham, we blew away, and you're going, right, let's kick on. 4 goals at home to Bournemouth, 4 goals away. He has to go now, and I feel quite bad saying that. And I've been quite late compared to most Wolves fans in saying that, because I've never been somebody who's like saying managers get set. I don't know why. I think I'm just like giving a bit patient, and I've been wrong in the past. But there's something about O'Neill I felt for him, because he has came into a club where the problem, you'll know this, comes from above him. We've sold Kilman and Neto in the summer. We didn't bring in a centre-half after selling your captain 40 million. And so first few games of the season against Villa, Mosquera gets injured and you're stuck with Craig Dawson, who's on his last legs.
Come on, that sort of blasphemy will not.
That wouldn't land with West Ham fans. But I love Craig Dawson, but he's having to play alongside Totti Gomez and in a system with 2. It's just not working. We've spent money on a goalkeeper, Sam Johnston, who's not any better than Jose Sarr. But the problem is it might not all come down to him, but he's got to deal with what he's got. And if we stay with him, we will go down. I think that's the problem.
So what do you said the problem's above there. So do you feel that he is, because I interviewed him, Gary O'Neill, this is, in the summer, I think, or towards the beginning of the season, I think it was. Yeah, he'd had a few games, and believe it or not, he's I think he's a light investor in Ballers Football Centre in Bluewater with Mark Noble. I think Konchesky was there, and weirdly, Rio Ferdinand's part of it, and mentally, Roberto Carlos is also an investor. So it's one of the weirder evenings I've had interviewing Roberto Carlos and then Gary O'Neill. But he's a really nice bloke, and
Yeah,
he speaks really well, and he clearly knows his stuff. And I think he's aware of his own unfashionability. I think he was aware at Bournemouth, and I personally think he wears that well. And like you said, I may be just not fooled, because I don't think it's an act that he's doing, but maybe I'm sort of like, oh, well, you know, he seems a nice bloke, he seems to know his stuff. So therefore I just go, it can't all be his fault. Do you think another manager will come in and be able to sort it out, or is the club created an environment where it's near impossible to succeed anyway at Wolves?
Well, I don't think we're going to attract the kind of managers that our owners we kind of want. I mean, we saw today, it came out that Graham Potter has been signed out by both West Ham and Wolves, but he's favouring a move to West Ham apparently. They've got better players on the pitch. They've got a stronger squad, and the money that has been spent. You look in the last 2 seasons, we're just not reinvesting the squad well enough. And yeah, we've got Acuna, but he's, you know, players like that you don't hold on to, and that's absolutely fine.
No,
but
he's
like
going in the summer, isn't he? Whatever
exactly,
happens.
yeah. But we know that, you know, we know we're Wolves. We're going to lose to a good place to top clubs, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But it's reinvesting, and look at this summer, Kilman, who a lot of Wolves fans weren't that worried when he went, and before the time was right, it was a good price. His standards had slipped in the last year, but the fact that we just don't replace him at all. Neto, yeah, he was injury prone. He didn't, you know, we didn't see the best of him because he was injured. But when we had him on the pitch, he was our best player. You still have to replace those players, and we took the cheap option, sat in players we didn't need, and we've got a squad now that is not a strong squad. And I mean, something like David Moyes, I would bite your hand off for. Funny, speaking to West Ham fans about that, I actually think he'd be perfect for us. But I honestly don't think he'd want to come. He's an established manager, and I don't know whether he'd find it an attractive proposition.
To be quite honest, it's a really interesting one, that, because now you've said it, I'm like, well, that fits. And I think I got one of many PR emails I get during the course of my week with new manager odds, I think, saying that David Moyes is potentially favourite. And I've been saying all since he left West Ham, really, that there's not enough clubs in the Premier League now who aren't, you know, only playing fashionable football, what I call it. It doesn't matter if it's effective, but, you know, who are just too cool or too modern and forward thinking to even possibly consider such a dinosaur like David Moyes. You can hopefully hear the total mockery in my voice when I say that. But then it was just like, you know, you got a manager there with European pedigree, won a European trophy for a club like West Ham, and, you know, got us really good domestic finishes. Even last year, you'd think we nearly went down. Listening to some of our fans, we came 9th. And I was like, I could only see him going to Everton, basically. I was like, if it doesn't work with Dyche, he goes back to Everton, nice and romantic, leads him into the new stadium, you know, lovely stuff. Dyche isn't doing a terrible job, and it doesn't sound like he's going anywhere anytime soon. So now you say that, it's like, why not? But I don't know that David Moyes is desperate to get back.
Yeah, that's the problem. I don't think
but
he would.
It would fit, and like it feels like that would be a good fit, because I think if anyone's gonna, you know, make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, which it sounds like your squad is, he's the man. He'll get you organised, a bit of commitment, he'll get you running, he'll get you doing all the ugly things that, like, get you on a bit more of a level par with other teams. He'll get you defending properly, and yeah, at least stop the rot. He literally,
that's the big thing. Defending properly. We've conceded so many goals, like, it's ridiculous. Like, and you've got Bournemouth, like I said, last 2 games, 8 goals in 4 games against teams that we should be doing better against. I know Bournemouth are a good side, and going to Goodison isn't easy, but you're conceding 8 goals in 2 games against anybody is pretty poor. We're good. We've got good quality players going forward. Like Cunha Larson can get a goal, And I've got a solid foundation. Yeah, he's all right. He's not too bad. We've got a good midfield, some good midfielders. So that kind of tells you the answer is somebody who can build from the back, which I don't think Gary O'Neill can, and he's proven that he can't stop the back. Yeah. So somebody like Moyes would come in and do that. To be honest with you, after Moyes, I'm really struggling to think of anybody that really stands out, and we've got to be careful because last time we did this, we were saying before West Ham, I spoke to you. It was before Large got sacked, Bruno Large. He went, and then we didn't replace him for weeks and weeks. And Lopetegui came in and kept us up. And we've got to be careful we don't do the same again.
Right. While I've got you, then we'll talk to you about Lopetegui, because I mean, one thing he has done, to be fair to him, is unite West Ham fans who were drastically split last season over the David Moyes situation. And he's managed to get everyone singing off the same hymn sheet now, because I think everyone's had enough and want him gone. So what did you see at Wolves when he was in charge?
He came on Boxing Day. We won I remember he won our first game, I think the last minute winner at Everton, and he, exactly, to be fair, what I've asked for. He brought in like somebody who could build from the back. It was pretty poor football. I'm not gonna lie, it was the worst football I've seen for a while at Wolves, but it was exactly what we needed. And he did bring a bit of belief back. But he's got a history of throwing the toys at the pram, hasn't he? And to leave the club the way he did just a week before the season started, we'll never forgive him for that. It left us in a pretty poor state. And Gary O'Neill, to be fair, he did do well with what he had. I think we've probably finished where we should have, 14th. But he really, some of the wins, I remember we lost to Bournemouth, I think. And it was Gary O'Neill's Bournemouth, and it was some of the worst football I've seen. But he kept us up, which is all that mattered.
What was that when you say worst football? In what way?
Well, it was just painful to watch. You know, when it's just defensive and it's rigid and it's, everything was down to sort of set pieces. But he did what he needed to do, and for the period, because we were really struggling. I don't know if you remember that. We got 2 wins under Bruno Lage. We got 1 under Steve Davis. And after the World Cup, he took the job just before the World Cup, but then wouldn't start until Boxing Day. And but you felt after the first 2 or 3 performances that something had changed, and you felt like we're going to stay up. And inevitably we did. But again, I'd reiterate it, and West Ham fans will completely sympathise with this. He came in, he wanted some players, and he didn't get what he wanted. And that's how kind of Gary O'Neill got the job. So O'Neill can't really complain about the lack of investment, because he got it off that.
But when I spoke to him, he was like, O'Neill, he was really sort of fine about that. He was like, look, I know the situation is what it is. Like, I can't complain or moan about it too much. I knew that when I took the job. It's not ideal, and you'd like to have more money to invest, but we haven't got that. So my job is to do the best with the tools at my disposal. The funny thing is with Lopetegui, I think we spent it's about 160 odd million in the summer, all on players. Clearly, sort of his picks. Tim Stuyton as well, but over them two were like besties in front of the camera early doors. I think he sort of deserves a bit of the heat that's coming from West Ham fans at the moment. But he's picked his own players. It's not defensive at all. It's the polar opposite to that. It's like he's trying to play this sort of like B-Tech Ange Postecoglou, but not quite that intense.
Yeah.
But this like highline football, it's like he's deliberately trying to be the anti-Moyes. It feels like during his interview, he's sat in front of the board and gone, look, everything Moyes was, I won't be that. Yeah. The board have said this is what the fans are crying out for, and he's going, yeah, I'll do that, don't worry about it. But it looks like he's promised to do that to get the job, but then doesn't know how to do it. When it comes to actually doing it, he doesn't know what he's doing. And that's the phrase I keep saying. And I know it sounds ridiculous to say for a manager who's been where he's been, but it honestly looks like it doesn't know what he's doing. Like, I hate when fans do this. But there are some things, and this is my new phrase for this year, that you don't need a UEFA Pro license to know when a football team are playing badly or when a player's
Yeah.
not doing very well or when he doesn't suit a position. We've all watched enough games of football as fans in our lives to understand the game. And what I find with Lopetegui is he's doing things, it seems to me, particularly around Aaron Wan-Bissaka and this mental high line that he's trying to play, just to be stubborn. Because it's like, no, this is what I've said I'll do. This is my style of play, even though by the sounds of what you're talking about, it's not, or it hasn't always been. And we're just like painfully easy to cut through. And it's like so obvious. It comes from the midfield. I think Kilman's doing okay. Fans are starting to get on his back a little bit, but I think it's because he's being put in positions where only Virgil van Dijk would have half a chance. Someone who's like lightning quick, powerful, strong, can read the game like Bobby Moore. And Kilman, I think, is good. He's a good centre back, but he's not that, is he? Like he'd be playing for Man City. So I find myself saying that he doesn't know what he's doing because he's playing Aaron Wan-Bissaka as some like weird like right winger rather than like, don't worry about playing right back, mate. The midfield's lightweight and terrible. Guido Rodriguez is awful. Carlos Soler looks like there's half a player in there, but in like a very specific system, i.e. one that isn't West Ham. And it's like there's no. I just went on Hawksby and Jacobs on talkSPORT, and my point was that, and like Paul was saying, that you need a bit of pragmatism as a manager, and you need a bit of flexibility in order to win games, particularly at the beginning when you're coming in inheriting someone else's squad. But he spent a lot of money on his own players, and there's no flex. It's like, no, if you were good under Moyes, I'm not interested. Vladimir Soufal, outstanding professional, same as Thomas Souček. He sort of tried in his weird way to bomb them all out, and he's now back relying on Souček again. And it's like, play a little. I understand trying to instill a philosophy a bit, but play a little bit with the tools you've got. Like, be a little bit flexible up front and go, all right, I can't. One day I'll be able to do this, but at the moment I've only got these players and these are their strengths. And what was he good at or what was he bad at? Because it sounds like what he was doing for you was no different. It was entirely different to what he's doing for us.
He was good at getting the best out of like our limited players. I remember he did really well with Lamina. I remember doing that. Was it Lamina? I can't remember. But he basically got the best out of quite a limited squad. I thought, like we've always had quality players, but good at grinding. You know what he did do? He made Molineux quite a good place to be, but then he did lose some, games that where we've. Like I said, I remember it being the Wolves Bournemouth game, and Gary O'Neill was the Bournemouth manager. We lost that, and I remember thinking that was an awful game, but. In the end, like I can't really fault him. He kept us up when we were in absolute, like terrible position. And I actually think he probably would have kicked on with us a bit. He might have changed the style we played because you obviously know coming into a club when in the bottom three, you can't go and play the best football. I just don't think you can do that unless they're a brilliant squad. So he knew what he needed to do, and he wanted backing that he wasn't going to get. And ultimately,
his line is that he was promised money, isn't it? That he was
I don't know if he was, I don't know if he was, knowing our own is for the since Nuno Santo was our manager. You know what? I was looking at it a bit today, and we've discussed this as Wolves fans for a while. The trajectory of Gary O'Neill is really similar to Bruno Lage. So Bruno Lage came in around about January, February. We were playing good football, and then the players just got tired. I think, if you remember rightly, we were like fifth under Lage. And then I think we lost our last 7 games of the season. So we finished 10th, which start the season is brilliant. All right. Then the next season, I think we won 2 of our first 10. So that's 2 wins in 17. After a season, thinking, right, there was positives. We started off really well, and then it trailed down, and then we didn't reinvest in the squad. And then we sacked the manager. Lopetegui comes in, keeps us up. Gary O'Neill comes in after a change in the guard. He comes in really short notice, to be fair. He does really well until about February. I think we were sitting like 9th. Everyone's going brilliant. And then he trails off, and I think he wins one of his last 7 or 8. And now I think it might have been won in the last 10. And now we're 3 wins in 24, and they've come against them. 3 wins have come against Luton. It's come against Southampton, and that win against Fulham.
Yeah.
And yeah, he had a hard start, but the problem is if you play 7 of the top 10, the top 7 in your first 10 games, it puts a hell of a lot of pressure on the later games. And unfortunately, we haven't picked up results in them.
No, that's the one. You're totally right there, and that's why I always have that argument when people say, "Oh, it doesn't matter about the fixture list. You play everyone at one stage." I go, absolutely not. Absolutely no chance. Because if you get a nice run of games for your first 5 and a bit of confidence is up, when you come and play the big teams, you go into it feeling a bit like, oh, we could do something here.
Yeah, 100%.
You want to have it. If you get hammered 6-0 the first 3 games of the season or 4, then when you come up against a team you should beat, you're a bit like, blimey, we haven't scored for a month, and blimey, we can't string a pass together, and we leak it at the back. So no, I totally get that. I totally buy that. Talking about the game, then, I mean, Gary O'Neill will be manager. It appears that Lopetegui will for us as well. What do you expect to see, like, sort of tactically, squad wise? You got any injuries or suspensions? Like, how will he approach the game? Because surely West Ham are taking as well.
Well, he's been quite inconsistent in his sides. He doesn't seem to know his own best side,
right.
Which has been an issue. And we've got, I mean, our defence, it depends what he plays at the back, because I just feel like we look like we're going to always concede goals. So, I mean, you've got Acuna's on main outlet, and then who do we play midfield? Obviously, Lemina's been playing further back because of injuries. But I honestly couldn't tell you how we're going to line up right now. I think we'll obviously have Antony on the left. The keeper situation is such a bit weird one, because we brought in Sam Johnston to go and goal, 10 million. He's
decent buy that, I thought.
Yeah, but then it does. Then Wolves fans, a lot of Wolves fans seem to prefer Jose Sarr, but for me, Jose Sarr's committing so many errors that don't, like, error after error that doesn't need to be done.
Stinker at home to Bournemouth, didn't he?
Oh, and like yesterday as well, the Craig Dawson goal, I think you could have done better, and he's a bit rash, but I don't think Johnson's better. He's just probably a safer pair of hands, but no, it's a good shot stopper. I'm not sure, honestly. I just feel like Monday is going to be the day where we've realised whether the players are behind O'Neill or not, because it looked like they'd lost faith in what he believed in. And then Monday could be the killer. I expect us just to try and sit back, and it's such a hard game to read, because like both teams are coming into it so poorly.
If I was O'Neill and I was felt I was on my last chance saloon, I'd honestly go, right, lads, go out there, do your thing. Like,
I think we should go at them. I think we should go at them, because we're going to concede 2 goals, so score 3. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so are we. That's what I mean. And we are. Sounds like we're exactly the same. Like, we are terrible at the back. We go into every game 2-0 down. Effectively, is how I describe it.
Yeah.
That's what I would do if I was on here. Go, look, these lot are on their thingies here. The crowd are on them. The London Stadium is going to freezing cold Monday in December. Just got humped by Leicester. No one's having the manager. There's no emotional bond there. Like, the last home game was the Arsenal game. We got absolutely tonked. People are going to be turning up already. Like,
honestly, it's going to be the most toxic environment ever. Like, home fan. I mean, our own fans were chanting, "You're getting sacked in the morning," and booed Gary O'Neill off. So it's going to, who can outdo the other one? There's really, isn't it?
It's wild, isn't it? How, like,
it's such a strange one.
So far, yeah.
Like, it's almost like.
Go on.
It's almost like both fans are going into it. Obviously, we want to win, but then we're going to have to be stuck with just for another game. It's a strange one when they say you can get one more game, because what impact will one more game have? Like, if we win it, then we're still going to have to change managers in 3 games.
Yeah, and that's what I keep saying, because I don't necessarily. Everyone knows I was against David Moyes, right? But I vowed I'm not mentioning him anymore. So, I've had to, because a load of podcast listeners kept getting in touch, threatening to stop listening and stop downloading if I didn't shut up about it. So I was like, all right, fair enough.
And then I come back in and say I want him as our manager.
Yeah, I think I'm sort of giving a bit of a pass if it's opposition view fans, because they're not obliged to keep their mouths shut on it. But what I have kept saying so far when it's been really bad is I can't see anything. Like, I can't see what he's trying to do. As in, It's not like, the players will get it soon and then it'll all be great. It's just like, no, this is just a bad way to set up a football team and play. So, yeah, And so that's why I feel like it's sort of done now, because if we beat Wolves at home, right, say we beat you 1-0, or even if we beat you 3-0, we beat Newcastle the other day, but it didn't really change much. You've still got the next game and the game after that. He's in a situation now where he needs to win like 4 on the bounce before people go, all right, yeah, fair enough. There's something in this. And what's your run coming up? You got quite a
It's
favourable run
big.
as well?
So we've got West Ham obviously away, then we've got Ipswich at home, Leicester
Yep.
away. So this month of December, going on into Christmas Day, we had obviously Everton, which have lost, West Ham, Ipswich, Leicester, massive games, and then after that it's Man United, Spurs, Forest, Arsenal. So it's like these next 3 games are huge, and I sort of looked at these 4 games and thought you need at least 7 points from that.
Yeah.
And now that puts the pressure on the next, and the next 2 of the 3 are away games, which always makes it harder.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
I think, I mean, Ipswich, if we lose, he's got to go, and I really do feel bad. I hate it. I actually really often don't like seeing managers go.
Yeah.
And I will, I like Gary O'Neill for what he did. He did come in at a tough time and keep us up, but I mean, it's that result for me, Everton 4, Wolves 0, is the big one, because that is just, no disrespect, Everton. Like I was so like I was always on the fence, because I felt like my heart wanted them to stay, but my head was just like, it's not good enough. And that was yesterday. I think that's it. And it's Wolves fans are really like, once you're out, they're really hard to turn around, because most football fans, and I think he knows. And his comments today in his press conference on Thursday, where he basically said the club's bigger than me. That 6 or 7 managers down, doesn't matter who it is, they've got to stay in the Premier League. And it almost seemed like he's consigned himself to going. And he's saying to the fans, look, I'm sorry, look, your big club's bigger than me, and almost trying to get a pass by being like, the club's
almost
bigger than me.
Look, pay me off, it's fine. Like,
but he signed a contract deal, an extension in the summer until 2028, and I think that's probably why he's lasted as long as he has as well.
Yeah, strange one. Well, it sounds like we're in very, very basically having the same season, mate, because we've got obviously you at home Monday, then Bournemouth away, which is not an easy game. They're playing well. Brighton at home. We've finally broke the proper curse, but we've got an awful record against them since they've been back in the Prem. Southampton were on Boxing Day, so to be honest, it's 2 wins minimum from that. We've got to beat you. We've got to beat Southampton away, and really, like, you should be getting something. They're not easy games, but West Ham and the club we're trying to be these days should be going into game away at Bournemouth and home to Brighton going, there's a win in there. Like, who knows where it is. Then we've got Liverpool home, Man City away. Sort of season over by all means. Listen, Will, it's been absolutely brilliant having you on. talkSPORT's Will Lewis there, big Wolves fan, going to the game on Monday night at London Stadium. What's the score going to be, Will?
I'm going to just sit on the fence and say 1-1 and both managers will get sacked. There you go.
I might do everyone a favour. Yeah, I've got a funny feeling it's going to be about 7-all. Just because both defences are terrible. And just go out and do it like that. Just keep slogging away.
It's not, probably more likely than 1-1, to be fair.
Yeah. But it strikes me as one of them, doesn't it? Monday night, December, for both sets of fans, or particularly one, it's going to be a real low point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what is the point? What's going on here? What's the point? Why do I like football? One of those nights.
Yeah. Why? I've never had a good time the away end at the London Stadium, so I'm pretty sure that hopefully that ends, but I don't see it happening.
No, quite, mate. Well, listen, thanks so much for coming on. I'm going 7-0. Will going 1-0 there Monday night. London Stadium, West Ham v Wolves, El Sackico, they're calling it all over the media at the moment. Just, not very appealing. But thank you very much for listening, everyone. Fingers crossed West Ham can get a win, just because it's nice to see West Ham win, even though that might not change anything about whether or not Lopetegui's the right man for the future or not. Follow us on socials at @WeAreWest Ham on Twitter, We Are West Ham Pod on Instagram, WeAreWestHampod@gmail.com if you want to email us. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, buy us a pint at buymeacoffee.com/WeAreWestHam. If you want, West Ham are massive, up hammers, and we'll be back next week for an in-depth reaction to the Wolves game.